Today I have Justin Jett back with me for this episode of the FHBRT. He's pushing out good content, so go ahead and give him a follow. I'm Dan. Let's get started with the most important event of the year, game that really showcases the highest level of basketball the NBA has to offer, the All-Star Game. Jett, today the picks come out, so let's hear your picks.
So I'll start out in the East. The obvious people in the front court are LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those are locks. I also think DeMar DeRozan should be a lock. He is my first backcourt player. He's been absolutely unbelievable. He's increased his passing ability. He's become a better shooter from three-point range. He's about 37% now on a ton of shots. And he has just been so much better than in years past and is one of the reasons the Raptors have a real chance in the playoffs this year. So he's a lock for me. And the two that are undecided, I think a lot of people believe that Kyrie Irving is another lock at the guard spot. But looking at it, it was really, really tough for me not to consider Victor Oladipo. And I know everyone knows how great Oladipo has been this year. It's been talked about a bunch. A lot of people think he's going to be the obvious most improved player, but he has been good enough to be a starter in the All-Star game. With him on the court, the Pacers have a 109.8 offensive rating and a 104 defensive rating. When he is off the court, that falls to an offensive rating of 104 and a defensive rating of 111. That is about a 12 to 13 net rating switch from when he is on the court to when he is off. He has been absolutely unbelievable in his time, and he is way more important to his team than Kyrie Irving to his. And I proved that by putting Al Horford as the 5th Eastern All-Star starter. The Celtics are really, really good because of their defense. And a lot of that is because of Al Horford. The Celtics have the number one defense by a mile. They're the best team in the East right now, and I believe he has a lot more impact on that than Kyrie Irving has. And so he is my 5th starter in the East.
Just out of curiosity, do you think the guard forward aspect of Ben Simmons will affect the All-Star game, assuming he makes up ground and votes?
I would say yes, but he has played point guard so much this season that he is just a lock for guard for me. I don't even really think of him as a front court player, which is almost ridiculous to say at 6'10", but he controls so much of their offense and honestly their defense that he is their point guard, their playmaker, their guy. He deserves, I think, an all-star spot in the East, just not one of the starters.
In the West, Steph Curry is leading all starters, Russ and James Harden following behind in the guard position. The West is a little harder to determine. It's difficult to shoehorn 5 players because of all the talent, but who do you got?
So, for my 2 guards, much like the locks in the East, Steph Curry and James Harden are the 2 locks. They're putting up ridiculous numbers. They both have had injury issues, but they haven't missed enough games for it to matter for the All-Star game. So I have them 2 as my guards. Kevin Durant, obviously, as my first front court player. His defensive intensity and his shooting is just continually getting better, and so he obviously deserves to be a starter. And then my next 2, so the 2 remaining front court, had a little bit of a hard time with these, but I ultimately went first with Paul George. I think he has been the Thunder's most important player through the first 45 games or so. His defensive intensity and what he means for their defense is so important to the Thunder's success because a lot of it will hinge on their defense. And they have really begun to figure out how to use him. They're using him a lot more off of screens. He is just shooting the lights out from three-point range. He's struggling a little bit from the field, but overall his impact for the Thunder, a team which I really believe in still, even though they continue to lose just absolutely silly games. And I think Paul George is a big reason for that. And the last front court player I chose was Anthony Davis. Unquestionably the best player on the New Orleans Pelicans. Him defensively for a team that's awful at defense is so crucial because without him they would most likely be last. And his just consistency offensively, being able to go to him and everything he's able to do for that team is really, really important. And so I just think with the amount of skills that he has and his talent level, he deserves that last All-Star starting spot.
Jett, The Bucks have simply been disappointing. They have 23 wins and haven't been all that fun to watch this year. A lot of that falls on Jason Kidd's shoulders. I hope I'm not wrong in saying this, but from what I've seen, the fans of Milwaukee aren't too happy with what he's doing, and for good reason. This year, in my eyes, it looks like there's a clear disconnect between the players and the coaching staff. The obvious solution would be the ultimate medicine in sports, wins, but this team, doing parts of their coaching, isn't coming by many of those. I've always been a fan of the saying, you're only as good as your record, because that's what it boils down to in sports. But Jet, this team is certainly better than the standings would indicate, correct?
So, at the beginning of the year, I had a lot of faith in this roster. I actually predicted them for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I had that much faith. But Jason Kidd has proven time and time again that he is just not a good coach. And I didn't want to believe that at the beginning of the year or even last year. I mean, he's done some things with these Bucks that are good. Giannis has improved exponentially every year. He can't get no credit for that. But when it comes to the actual games, it is like he can't react quickly or accurately. So if you look at the Warriors game, the Bucks just played the Warriors. Sterling Brown was playing really, really well defensively. He was doing a good job on all the Warriors guards. And you're just looking really comfortable out there and aggressive. He ended up playing only in the first half, and all the other minutes went to Dellavedova, who has been struggling the last few weeks. He's like negative 40-something in his last 13 games. He goes in because obviously Jason Kidd trusts him, but Kidd needs to learn that you have to go with the flow of the game. If a player is doing well in a specific game, you have to ride him out. And I don't think he is capable of seeing that. And the center position for them has also been a big issue, been off and on. John Henson and Thon Maker have been going back and forth on who's really ready to step up for that role. Thon, early in the year, proved he wasn't ready. Last year in the playoffs, he did extremely well. I was really, really high on him. And then he fell off a cliff, seemingly. And so it's been tough for Jason Kidd to figure out who to play more often. With this roster and how much talent they have, they really, really should be better than they are. And I think a lot of that falls on Jason Kidd.
Brian Windhorst predicts that there will be a lot of coaching changes this offseason relative to last year, and it's pretty clear Jason Kidd is one of those on the hot seat. And you're right about the roster. They do have a lot of great talent, but I don't think they're that good. They have incredible length, incredible versatility, and while they do have a coach who isn't maximizing them, I look around the roster and they're missing another piece. Giannis is great, but he needs help, and that help doesn't look like it's going to come anytime soon. They can't draft one with where they're at. I don't know if they can sign one. Maybe they can trade for one, but I don't consider their front office to be top class. What do you see as the next move for this Bucks team? Maybe not so much talent acquisition-wise, but personnel-wise.
I think the natural evolution, it feels like an eventuality at this point, that Giannis is probably going to take over that center position at some point in his career. That's the way the league has been moving. That is undoubtedly his best position. When they put him at the 5 with Brogdon, Bledsoe, Tony Snell, Chris Middleton, and probably they usually do either Matthew Dellavedova instead of Snell sometimes. It works really, really well. And I think the talent level they have is still pretty young. Giannis is only 23. Middleton's only 26. Brogdon is only 25. And so they could still take another step. I think Brogdon is really, really good. And I just wanted to add that my confidence in him is a big reason why I think that the Bucks have the capabilities to take the next step. I just think he's a rock-solid player. He's a dead eye when open. He is a really, really good defender. High effort, high IQ. So I think if they are able to get a new coach next year, a better coach, they could really become one of the best teams in the league. With the roster they have, they could add a couple more guys, obviously through free agency, maybe get rid of Matthew Dellavedova, and then they can make another step. But I don't think that's going to happen until Kidd is gone. We saw it with the Warriors. They were a pretty good team up on the rise, and they didn't really take that next step until their coach was fired and Steve Kerr came in. And sometimes it takes that move in order to develop your team further.
I like that Mark Jackson comparison a lot, but I guess we should stop dancing around the subject. If you're the Bucks, who are you looking to potentially bring in to get this team into contention?
I think the obvious answer right now is David Fizdale. he is really well liked throughout the league. You saw a slew of players come out and support when he was dropped. And so that to me is the obvious choice for him to move over there. Other than that, like you said, Windhorst was talking about, I believe he said 8 or 10 head coaching availabilities. And so it's going to really depend on what's out there this offseason. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of people to go through and a lot of choices. And so I don't have a rock solid, this is the coach that's going to take them to the next level. But that coach could be fired in the next 2 months, and then they could pick him up this offseason.
Now's the time, Jet. What's your storyline of the week?
I think worrying about the Cavs defense is ridiculous. We do this seemingly every year with the Cavs at this point. A bunch of storylines about how a team with this bad a defense never goes to the finals. How a team that slumps in this way never goes to the finals. LeBron James always goes to the finals. That is the only stat that matters. The team has still a ridiculous amount of talent, and they have been there so many times. It's almost funny how we talk about the regular season on the one hand not meaning as much as the playoffs, but then we take so much stock into what happens in the regular season, despite the fact that we have seen this team with this similar construct make it to the finals year after year. And so my caution is, don't be worried about the Cavaliers. Isaiah Thomas was incredible last season. He is going to figure it out with the Cavs. Kevin Love is better defensively than you think. LeBron James can do literally everything. Dwayne Wade has become a 6th Man of the Year candidate on the bench. Kyle Korver can shoot from anywhere. Tristan Thompson is starting to grab every rebound again that he can see. And so I'm not worried one bit, and neither should anybody listening to this.
Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you if you supported on Twitter. Please follow Justin Jet. He works hard to put out content, and if you can, follow me while you're there. I don't work as hard, but it would make me happy. Thank you.